Hi friends, my name is Chantha Chhim and I serve as the pastor of Seminole Baptist in Springfield, Missouri. The next chapter in life or in any organization brings about a certain level of anxiousness. This often happens because of a general fear of the unknowns. Leaders typically want to prepare for these challenges. Good leaders move to great leaders when they recognize their calling and #the moment. Esther 4:14 says it this way, for such a time as this. God called you to make a difference in this very moment of history. You are critical to God's sovereign plans for the redemption of mankind. What you do today will determine how millions can come to the knowledge of His amazing grace. I love the law of legacy. The law of legacy means that leaders and organizations who leave a legacy lead with tomorrow in mind. They make developing other leaders as part of the culture, and they're sacrificial for the future success to pass on the torch. I want to speak to you about this word, hope. One of the defining characteristics of great visionary leaders, especially during critical times of crisis, is that they have this insatiable ability to continue to see past all the chaos before them, and they were able to effectively communicate and mobilize those around them for the greater hope that lies ahead. This is the story of Joshua, found in the Old Testament. Joshua chapter 1, Moses, my servant, is dead. What once was is no more. Who I used to start the journey is no longer with you. Who will stand in the gap? Who will lead my people into the promise? Am I not the God who fulfills His promises? I love what Philippians 1:6 that says, and I am sure of this, that He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ. Obviously, as Christian leaders, we know our eternal hope. As 1 Peter talks about this living hope, it's Jesus Christ. The question is, how do we reflect this attitude in our current decision making and allow it to drive us into our current circumstances? When you usually unpack what true hope looks like, it radically alters and changes our perception. I like this quote, and I want you to think about it. Vision gives pain a purpose. Vision equals hope. Hope is the positive, desired outcome that gives our moments a future. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore, arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, into the land that I am giving to them, to the people of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon, I will give to you, just as I promised to Moses. From the wilderness and to this Lebanon, as far as the great river, the river Euphrates, and all the land of the Hittites, to the great sea toward the going down of the sun will be your territory. No man will be able to stand before you all the days of your life. Just as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not leave you. I will not forsake you. Joshua, be strong and courageous, for you shall cause this people to inherit the land that I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be strong and very courageous, being careful to do according to all the law that Moses, my servant, commanded you. Don't turn to it from your right hand or to the left, that you may have good success wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you'll meditate upon it day and night. So you'll be careful to do according to all that is written. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Have not I commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. Do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Moses and Joshua were given the same promise, but were called to walk out that promise differently. The methods and the moment and the men may be different, but the mission is the same, to lead people into God's promise. That is true hope. After God told Moses he would not be in the group that would possess the promised land, Moses prayed for a leader to come after him. He prayed this in Numbers 27 verses 15 to 17, that would be different than he was. Moses knew his own flaws and wanted more for the future of Israel. Joshua accepted this calling in humility, but understood that even though Moses, a giant in the faith, led before him, God had a unique plan for his life that would look differently than God's plan for Moses. He wasn't hung up on the past and the myriad of miracles of Moses' time, allowing that to stop him from moving forward and leading the people of God into the promised land. He had battles to win, walls to march around, and a land to possess, and a God that would lead him completely all the way. You see, as leaders, we should lead with the future in mind. When we lead with an eternal mindset, every decision, every action, every move will be calculated and weighed against the eternal consequences. We lead into the future while learning and leaning on the faithful foundation of the past. We cannot be intimidated by the myriad of miracles in the past that we don't possess the new land that God is giving to us miraculously now. The promise is the same since the beginning of time until today, but how we are called to walk out those promises will look differently for each of us, individual to individual, generation to generation. I want to tell you a story. In 2014, a Japanese war hero died. His name was Hiro Onada, and he was a Japanese imperial soldier who fought in World War II. When the opposing military landed where Onada was stationed, most of his colleagues were killed or surrendered. Onada, however, fled with 3 other soldiers into hiding in the jungle. That was February 28, 1945. He would not emerge from hiding for 29 years. He continued hiding because he thought the war was still going on, though in reality it ended just a few months after he had fled into hiding. In October 1945, Hiro and his companions saw a leaflet announcing that Japan had surrendered, but they ignored it because they thought it was propaganda and not trustworthy. More leaflets were dropped from airplanes around the end of 1945, but they did not believe those either. So they kept hiding, they kept striving, they kept fighting. As the years passed, one of Onada's companions left the others to surrender, while the other 2 friends were killed in shootouts with the police. For 29 years, Onada lived on the run. He lived as if the battle was still raging. He believed the wrong story. It radically impacted his life. The Hiro Onada story gets even crazier. In 1974, a Japanese man who was traveling around the world looking for Lieutenant Onada, a panda, and the abominable snowman. Yeah, that's right, in that order. He found Hiro Onada after only 4 days of searching. They became friends, but Hiro refused to surrender without orders from a superior officer. The Japanese government located his commanding officer, who made the trip into the jungle to relieve Onada of his duty. The officer essentially told him, "Combat has ceased. It is finished." Friends, God's not dead. Hope is alive. And our commanding officer has given us a promise, the promise that he has given to all of us who are soldiers of the cross. We must endure hardness. We must fight the good fight of faith. We have a living hope, and that living hope is found in Jesus Christ. The gospel is hope for mankind, not just for today, but for eternity. We preach Jesus Christ and him crucified. My prayer to you for the next generation of servants that would be willing to not only possess the hope, but that we would be distributors of that blessed hope for this generation and the next generation, and that we would lead others into discipleship. God bless you. May you be encouraged with the word of God today.